Minister, Director General, my colleagues. I've been working on One Health for over 35 years, even before I was a veterinarian. And with influenza, with rabies, with Ebola, areas of concern for us at the global stage, nothing has captured the One Health approach better than, I think, antimicrobial resistance. In fact, you're looking at somebody who is recovering from a macrolide-resistant Haemophilus influenza. I was just hospitalized about 5 months ago and missed out on quite a bit of my obligations because of this. And what I'm going to share with you right now is some of the work that FAO is doing on antimicrobial resistance to tackle this, this issue. So, at FAO, we have 4 pillars of the FAO Action Plan, complementary to that of the Global Action Plan, referring to food, agriculture, environment, stewardship. I would like to share with you some of the issues regarding integrated surveillance, which sounds good, but I'll share with you how difficult it is from the food and agriculture perspective, and some of the FAO tools that we've developed to be able to address this and assist countries. So, as Dame Sally Davis and Dr. Poonam have already shared, there is a strong tripartite collaboration on several issues of common interest. And this is translated into the Global Action Plan for Antimicrobial Resistance. And note that what I'm saying and what the previous 2 speakers said, it's the Global Action Plan. It's not WHO's action plan. It's the Global Action Plan carrying that One Health message, which is important to remember. In the FAO Action Plan, certainly we want to improve the awareness, not only among the profession, but also among the common public. To develop the capacity for surveillance, to monitor antimicrobial resistance and antimicrobial use, to strengthen governance mechanisms, not only between the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Agriculture or the Veterinary Services, but also the Ministry of Education, to be sure that our professionals of the future know what their responsibilities are. To be able to strengthen finance and planning, to raise this issue to a high level within government, to be able to have that proper governance. But it's also governance of all of us, in our families, in our homes. What do you have in the medicine cabinet? How do you dispose of what you have not used? So there's also a governance with ourselves. And lastly, and this is perhaps the most difficult for us in food and agriculture, is to promote the good practices in agricultural systems and the prudent use of these medicines. Briefly, I'll share with you our integrated surveillance. So this slide has been stolen from the Department of Health from the UK, and it shows the complexity and the networks that antimicrobial resistance brings and all the nodes of interaction. So where do you start implementing? Sure, we have the food-producing animals and their interconnectivity, and we have to remember that there are 7 billion consumers on Earth, plus. And one of my responsibilities as Chief Veterinary Officer of FAO is to ensure food safety. Stewardship of the environment, not only as a sink for antimicrobial resistance genes, but also as a source for contamination to other living forms. So animal food is an area of principal concern with food and agriculture, and certainly the links there and the responsible stewardship required. We have developed, as previous speakers have shared, a questionnaire to help countries and to be able to capture how we're doing on the world scene with the national action plans. And this includes aspects of surveillance and capability for detection. But if we look at the environment, sure, we do see that we are all interlinked in another form, and these antimicrobial pathogens or antimicrobial resistant genes are everywhere. And we're not going to stop that. What we can't stop are the risks of transmission. Now, legislation, very important. And when we have that picture, what does a lawyer see? It sees an animal health law, a pesticide legislation, soil quality, waste disposal laws, aquaculture law, farming and animal production legislation, waste management laws. Now these laws or these regulations have to be coherent across ministries. This is a difficult task, and the FAO Law Development Service works on this with countries. So why is legislation important for AMR? It serves to clarify roles and responsibilities, to prohibit those bad habits, foster good conduct, provide agreed definitions that clarify interpretations, whether the international standards or even national communication. It introduces regulatory mechanisms, licenses, permits, requirements to meet national legislation. And more importantly, well, not necessarily more importantly, but very important, is how do you not only put the carrot, but where is the stick to be able to manage and improve the situation. So let's look at integrated surveillance. In food and agriculture, I can probably count maybe around 15 different sectors that are important to capture, whether it's the rabbit industry, crustaceans, bees and honey, legumes, grains. So it's quite a difficult task to be able to monitor and integrate all the surveillance on antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance. If I multiply this times 3, looking at smallholder farms, middle commercial operators, or those intensive farms, I will get 45 different sectors that I need to be looking at for integration. And if I add the food production chain, those critical control points that are necessary for surveillance, more or less on a food safety HACCP principle, looking at the food industry, looking at effluents and waste management, or the pharmaceutical companies and their discharges, we will count over 50 different sectors. So integrated surveillance, it's a sound idea. It's complex in its implementation. It's a mosaic. And we do see that even with a country as well as advanced in Thailand, it will be a mosaic as far as performance and integration of surveillance. But we need to start somewhere. The progressive management pathway is a tool that is under development to be able to assist countries, or actually sectors within a country, whether it's mollusks or legumes or bees or dairy, to be able to meet their international obligations. So we do see different stages and be able to do that risk management across the different sectors to be able to attain a high quality food, high quality public health, less risk to humans. So in the prudent use of antimicrobials in the agriculture production systems, we do have a set of good practices, good agricultural practices, not only with terrestrial livestock, but also in aquatic animal production systems and health. Not only in aquatic, but also in crop production and health. Won't go into all the details, but certainly that type of guidance exists. How to translate that guidance into capacity building at the local level, not just at the capital, but at the local level where food production is occurring, or in peri-urban environments, is essential. We've heard about Atlas from Dr. Davies. Now this is a module to look at laboratory capabilities in food safety, in veterinary science, to be able to document where we are and the quality of the surveillance that is existent in the country. So we would see a mosaic of areas within laboratory capabilities to detect and report on antimicrobial resistance or other infectious diseases. And we would see areas of investment, whether from the national or from extra budgetary resources that we may have from funding partners, to be able to accomplish this task so that we have more green and less red, less yellow. Thank you very much for your attention.